My sister and I ended up marrying twin werewolves. My sister got the big strong one, the heir to the pack, but he was cold, distant, and always taking his frustrations out on her. She was basically walking on eggshells all the time. Me, I got stuck with a sickly pale twin. But Liam was sweet, thoughtful, and he was secretly a genius. He used his brains to rise to power and become the leader of the pack. My sister was so jealous she tried to ruin me. Then I woke up and we were both back at the choosing ceremony where we picked our husbands. My sister practically jumped on Liam. I just smiled. Did she really think he was such a prize? One Grandma Wolf, the matriarch of the Blackwood pack, presented the twins, Liam and Ethan Blackwood, to my sister and me. These are my grandsons. Take your pick, girls. I stared Ethan and Liam Blackwood right in front of me. It wasn't a dream. Ethan, the elder twin, built like a brick wall. The golden boy, Liam, Ethan's younger brother, had a heart condition since birth, always taking medication. This was really happening. I was back at the day we chose our werewolf husbands. My sister Brittany grabbed Liam's hand, all goo-goo eyes. Liam, darling, I'm going to be your wife. She shot me this smug look. I got it. She remembered everything too. Our family's company, Hawthorne Enterprises, had been in business with the Blackwood pack for generations. That's why my sister and I were sent to marry into the family last time around. Brittany heard that Ethan was the heir, Mr. Alpha Male, and she wanted to be the queen of the pack, so she snatched him up. Too bad for her, Ethan didn't believe in romance and had no patience for drama. She spent her whole life trying to win his approval, but it was always out of reach. I got Liam, who treated me with kindness, took me out, showered me with gifts, and made me feel like I was the only woman in the world. He even outmaneuvered Ethan and took over the pack. I was the first lady of the werewolves, calling all the shots. Brittany couldn't stand it. She snuck into my room and tried to sabotage me. I'll never forget the look in her eyes. Scarlet, you think you're so special now that you're married to the Alpha? I'm going to take it all from you. With my last strength, I fought back. And suddenly, I was back again, at the moment of choice. Watching her cling to Liam, I knew my new life was about to begin. I wouldn't let anyone manipulate me ever again. The wedding was a double ceremony. Liam was all over Brittany, holding her train, fixing her hair. Ethan just looked tired of the whole thing, like he couldn't wait for it to be over. Brittany saw me standing alone and walked over, dragging Liam with her. Scarlet, honey, you've got to know how to keep your man happy or you won't survive in this pack. I glanced at Liam. He was gazing at Brittany with admiration. I noticed the silver promise ring on his thumb. I stepped back, my heart pounding. I forced a smile. I can handle myself. I turned and walked away. Even though it was the past, my body still trembled. Brittany thought she'd won the lottery, but she didn't know the real Liam. I'd rather take my chances with Ethan, and this time she was giving me exactly what I wanted. That night I put on a red lace robe. Ethan was propped up in bed, eyes closed, a black wolf tail resting beside him. A werewolf's tail is super sensitive, they don't let just anyone touch it. I took a deep breath and walked over. I gently reached for it, but he suddenly pushed me away. What do you think you're doing? He said, irritated. Ethan, it's our wedding night. I tried to sound soft, calm. Inside, I was frustrated. I was making all the effort and he was shutting down. So what? He asked, annoyed. I'm not interested in this. You want peace, stay quiet. I nodded, trying to calm the situation. I understand. I stepped away, not wanting to escalate anything. Ethan clearly had deep emotional scars. In the past, Brittany had tried to force a connection and only ended up rejected. I didn't want to repeat her mistake. So I chose to sleep on the couch that night, giving him his space. The next morning, Ethan woke me by knocking on the bathroom door. I need to get ready, he said. Sorry. I replied, quickly stepping out. He got dressed and left without a word. I followed after him. Ethan, my parents invited us for dinner tonight. You should come with me. He frowned. Can't you go alone? I smiled and gently touched his forehead, trying to lighten the mood. Don't frown. It's bad luck. He seemed surprised. I added, it's fine if I go alone, but in my family, if a husband doesn't accompany his wife the day after the wedding, it causes rumors. He scoffed but then stopped me. Fine, I'll go. He picked up his jacket and left. I smiled. I was learning how to handle him. Later, I saw Brittany and Liam in the garden. They were holding hands like a fairy tale couple. "Scarlett, going home to Mom and Dad's?" Brittany asked. "Ethan's meeting me there," I said. Liam narrowed his eyes. I knew that look. He hated being second. Jealousy had driven him to do terrible things in my past life. I walked away without looking back. That night, Ethan and I arrived last. Everyone was surprised he even showed up. I stayed close to him, keeping things calm. Brittany sat on the couch with Liam, feeding him grapes like they were royalty. She suddenly turned to me. "I wonder if Scarlett slept with Ethan on her wedding night." Her voice was mocking. Before I could respond, Ethan said coldly, "A Blackwood wife doesn't speak that way in public. Liam, keep your wife in check." Liam clenched his jaw but nodded. "Yes, brother." He led Brittany away. Ethan left the room and I followed him, trying not to laugh. Everyone whispered that he was defending me. But I knew better, he was protecting the family name. I took a cab home. Brittany was in the living room, applying ointment to her arm. Her skin looked irritated. She quickly hid it. "Liam was so sweet tonight," she said. "He said he'd love me forever." I just nodded. She didn't realize she was repeating my old life, pain and all. Ethan came home late. I was still on the sofa. He didn't say a word. He just went to bed. I understood him better now. He had trust issues. He kept people at arm's length to avoid being hurt. Last time, I read books on how to understand people like him. Now, I would use that knowledge to change things. I made him a special soup with calming herbs and brought it to him. "Ethan, you've had a long day. Drink this to relax." He ignored me and transformed into a black wolf, curling up on the bed. I didn't insist. "If you're not going to drink it, I'll save it for later." He didn't react. I sat beside him. "I know I'm not important to you," I whispered. "But I am your wife." At that, he shifted back to human and drank the soup silently. I smiled and gently ran my hand along his tail. "Ethan, can I sleep here with you tonight?" "No," he muttered, brushing me aside. I went back to the sofa without complaint. The next morning, I made the soup again. He drank it without a word. Slowly, he began to calm down. He still didn't say much, but I could feel the shift. This time, I would change everything. Not with force, but with patience. Because I'd already lived the nightmare. And now, I had a second chance. The days after the wedding moved like fog, slow and unclear, each moment heavy with unspoken thoughts. Ethan and I fell into a routine. Or rather, I adjusted myself into the smallest, quietest version of me so I wouldn't disturb the delicate air around him. He spoke little, ate less, and spent most of his time outside, patrolling the northern ridge with the other pack sentries. At first, I assumed it was a form of avoidance. But over time, I began to see something deeper, a loyalty to the pack that ran deeper than blood or marriage. I was not used to being ignored. In my first life, Liam had showered me with attention. Flowers in the morning. Breakfast on a tray. Notes tucked into my shoes. But all of it had a cost. His love was a performance. When the mask slipped, it revealed control, not care. Ethan was different. Silent. Brooding. But honest. I started small. I organized the closet, folded his patrol gear the way soldiers prefer. I set out his favorite kind of tea, bitter root and cedar leaf, something only an experienced wife would know. I didn't hover. I didn't ask for praise. I just existed beside him. I think that was the only way to get close to someone like Ethan. One morning, I saw him hesitate before going out. He stood near the entry, fingers brushing the doorknob but not turning it. "Do you want me to braid your hair before patrol?" I asked casually, not looking at him. He didn't respond. But he didn't leave either. I walked over, picked up the leather tie from the small dish beside the door, and gently began to gather his thick black hair. He didn't flinch. Didn't growl. When I finished, I stepped back. "Done," I said. He nodded once and walked out. It wasn't much, but it was more than I had gotten from him the first time around. And it meant something. That evening, the pack council held a meeting. I wasn't invited, of course. Mated females were expected to stay in the background until they produced an heir. I stayed in the house, watching the firelight flicker. When Ethan came home, he was unusually tense. "You're angry," I said quietly. He didn't answer. But his shoulders were rigid, and his jaw tight. He pulled off his coat and dropped it on the floor. They want Liam to be my second again. His voice was low. The first full sentence he'd spoken to me all day. I thought you demoted him, I said, cautiously. I did. But the council says he's more presentable. That made me laugh. Presentable? Liam was many things, but loyal wasn't one of them. They think he makes the pack look stronger, Ethan added, sitting on the edge of the bed. And you? I asked. He glanced at me, expression unreadable. I don't trust him. Not anymore. Then say no. It's not that simple. I sat beside him but didn't speak. After a long silence, he whispered, they think I'm too cold. I smiled. You are. He stared at me, almost offended. I continued, but cold doesn't mean weak. It means precise. Controlled. They'll figure that out eventually. He didn't reply, but the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. A moment later, he lay down, not shifted, just human, exhausted. I stood, grabbed the thin blanket from the couch, and draped it over him. Thank you, he murmured, eyes closed. It was the first time he said those words to me. And my heart nearly burst. The next day, Brittany came knocking. She breezed into my house like she owned the place, wearing designer boots and carrying a basket of fresh fruit like we were neighbors on friendly terms. But her eyes were sharp, calculating. I just wanted to check in on you, sis. You look tired. I smiled politely. Busy. But good. She wandered the room like a cat. Liam is taking me to the Spring Moon Ball next week. Apparently, it's the most important event of the year. That's lovely, I said, sipping tea. You should wear green. It's your best color. Her jaw clenched. She hated when I didn't take the bait. And what about you? Will Ethan even show up? He will, I said confidently. We'll be there together. She blinked, surprised. You think that makes you alpha material? I stood. Brittany, I already was. She didn't stay long after that. Ethan agreed to go to the ball, though it clearly annoyed him. I chose a navy dress with silver stitching that matched his patrol uniform. He didn't comment, but when he offered me his arm before we entered the hall, I knew it had registered. Inside, it was a sea of werewolves and humans, all mingling under the chandeliers. Brittany made a show of spinning in Liam's arms, her laughter ringing through the hall. She glanced at us more than once, and each time I caught her, I smiled back, sweet and steady. You're doing this for appearances, Ethan muttered, leaning close as we danced. No, I said softly. I'm doing this for you. He blinked at me, unsure what to say. The next song began, and we continued to dance. Halfway through the evening, I excused myself to the balcony. The cold air was a relief. I needed space to breathe. Liam found me there. You look beautiful tonight, he said smoothly. I didn't turn around. And you look just as dangerous as I remember. He stepped closer. Do you miss it, Scarlett? The attention. The power. No, I said. I miss peace. You were never peaceful. He chuckled. You think Ethan will give you that? Eventually. You're wasting yourself on him. You belong with someone who can make you shine. I turned to face him. That's the difference, Liam. You wanted me to shine, for your reflection. Ethan doesn't need a spotlight. He just needs truth. He stared at me, nostrils flaring. I walked away. After the ball, Ethan didn't speak for 2 days. I worried I'd overstepped. But on the third night, he came to the kitchen while I was cooking. That dress, he said suddenly. It looked good on you. I smiled. Thank you. He sat, watching me stir the soup. When I brought him a bowl, he looked me in the eye. Did Liam say something to you? Yes, I replied. But it doesn't matter. He considered that. I'm not good at this. Relationships. I know. I don't want a queen. I want quiet. Then you'll love me, I said. His brow lifted. I don't need a throne. Just a place beside you. He didn't smile. But he nodded. And when I brought the soup to his lips, he drank without protest. Later, as I lay on the couch, I heard his voice. Scarlett. Yes? You can sleep in the bed if you want. I didn't move right away. I let the silence stretch between us like a bridge being built slowly, brick by brick. Then I stood, walked to the bed, and lay beside him, facing the ceiling. He didn't touch me. But he didn't push me away. Progress. A week later, Ethan came back from patrol with a deep gash on his arm. I rushed to him with a medical kit. "It's fine," he said. "Let me help." He sighed, sitting. I cleaned the wound gently. As I bandaged it, I noticed something in his eyes, tiredness, yes. But also softness. "You're not afraid of me," he whispered. "No. I used to be. But I've already seen your worst." "And you stayed?" "Because I know your best is worth it." His hand brushed mine. Just for a moment. But it was enough. That night, I fell asleep in his arms. Not as a queen. But as a partner. And for the first time in both lives, I dreamed of peace. The following weeks passed like a dream soaked in tension. Quiet stairs. Soft footsteps. Unexpected warmth blooming between icy moments. I knew Ethan wasn't in love with me. Not yet. But he no longer kept me at a distance, and that meant more to me than flowers or grand gestures. His guard was still up, yes, but there were cracks. And in those cracks, light was starting to pour in. He even let me braid his hair before his morning patrols now, without protest. He didn't speak while I did it, but he didn't pull away either. Sometimes I caught his eyes in the mirror watching me, almost like he was trying to understand me. One chilly morning, I caught him staring again. "What?" I asked. "You're different." "Different from what?" "From her," he said simply. I paused. "You mean Brittany?" He nodded slowly. "And from everyone." I smiled a little. "I'll take that as a compliment." He turned and looked at me fully. "I don't like attachments." "I know. But I think I'm becoming one." I stopped breathing for a second. "To you," he added. It was the closest thing to affection I had ever heard from Ethan Blackwood. I didn't say anything back. I just brushed his collar flat and nodded like it was the most ordinary thing in the world, because I knew he hated drama. But inside, my heart bloomed like wildfire. At the pack gathering the following weekend, something strange happened. Liam arrived late, alone. "Where's Brittany?" I asked as he approached. He gave me a tight smile. She wasn't feeling well. Liar. I could smell her scent all over him. She had been crying. I could also see the faint bruise near his jawline, clawed, not from a fight with a rogue wolf. She had struck him. I didn't feel pity. I felt déjà vu. Liam looked at me longer than he should have. "You're glowing," he said. "Guess you really like being second this time around." I arched a brow. Being loved suits me. He narrowed his eyes. Ethan came up behind me. "Is there a problem?" Liam stepped back. "Not at all, Alpha." The way Ethan stood so close, with his hand just lightly brushing mine, it sent a silent message, mine. Back at home, I found Ethan in the study late into the night. The room was dimly lit, just a small lamp over his desk. Papers were scattered, maps and patrol schedules all neatly marked in red ink. "You work too much," I said gently. "Someone has to," he replied. I walked over and placed a warm tea by his hand. "You don't always have to do everything alone, you know." He didn't look at me. "You say that now," he murmured. "But what about later? When it's harder? When it gets ugly?" "Then I'll still be here," I said. "Because this isn't a fairy tale, Ethan. I didn't marry you for a fantasy. I married you because I wanted the truth." He leaned back and looked at me, expression unreadable. "You're a strange woman, Scarlett Hawthorne." I smiled. "And you're a difficult man." Something in his chest relaxed. And for the first time, he laughed, quiet, breathy, but real. It was around that time I started noticing changes in the pack. Rumors. Strange patrol reports. Border wolves whispering about movements near the western line. I told Ethan. He frowned. "That area is supposed to be clear. We'll increase patrols." Liam volunteered. Ethan didn't look convinced, but he agreed. Just for a few nights. Supervised. That night, while Ethan was out speaking with the beta, I decided to take a walk. I needed air. I ended up near the outer gardens. There, beneath the moonlight, I saw Brittany standing alone. Her arms were wrapped around herself, and she looked thin. Weaker. Not the polished sister I remembered. Brittany, are you all right? She didn't answer. Just stared at me, bitter and small. He loves you now, doesn't he? Who? Ethan. I blinked. I don't know. Yes, you do. She turned away, voice trembling. Liam said Ethan used to laugh when I tried to kiss him. But now he lets you braid his hair and drink your stupid tea. What did you do to him? I swallowed hard. I was kind. That's all. She laughed bitterly. That's it? That's your secret? I shook my head. No. The secret is, I stopped trying to make someone love me. I started learning who they really were. Brittany's face crumpled. I never hated you until you made him choose you without even trying. That's not love, I said. That's war. And I'm done fighting you. I walked away. She didn't follow. A few days later, Ethan called an emergency meeting. The Western patrols had found signs of rogue activity, deep claw marks, unnatural scents, disturbed earth. He addressed the council with a calm, cold voice. We're not dealing with ordinary rogues. The room fell silent. Liam stood, arms crossed. Then what do you suggest, brother? I suggest we stop pretending this is normal. Someone is manipulating them. Someone with inside access. Murmurs echoed around the chamber. Are you suggesting a traitor? One elder asked. Ethan nodded. I'm suggesting we look closer to home. All eyes turned to Liam. He laughed. You're accusing your own brother? I'm asking questions, Ethan said. And I'm offering answers, Liam snapped. You can check my movements. My patrol records. I've done nothing wrong. Ethan didn't blink. I will. That night, I found Ethan staring at the flames in our bedroom fireplace. Do you think it's him? I asked softly. I don't want it to be, he said. But I can't ignore the signs. I sat beside him. Then don't ignore them. But don't destroy yourself either. He looked at me. What if I destroy the pack? Then you rebuild it, I said. With the truth. He nodded slowly. Then, after a pause, he took my hand in his. Stay with me tonight, he whispered. I smiled and crawled into the bed beside him. He didn't shift into wolf form. He didn't turn away. He held me. The next morning, chaos broke out. One of the outer sentries was found unconscious. Brittany was missing. And Ethan received a message carved into the forest trees, 3 claw marks slashed deep with a warning, bring the girl or the pack dies. Only we didn't know which girl they meant. But I did. Me. Because this wasn't about the pack anymore. It was about revenge. And someone, maybe even my sister, was willing to burn the forest down just to see me suffer. But this time, I wasn't the girl who ran or begged. I was the girl who had already lived it once. And now, I was ready to fight. The cold hit me first. Before the panic. Before the dread. Before Ethan's sharp bark of command snapped the entire Blackwood estate into motion. 3 claw marks on the trees. A signature only someone from inside the pack would know. Someone trying to make it personal. Someone who wanted blood. Or leverage. I stood at the window of our bedroom, watching the forest beyond the ridge. Silent. Breathing. Like it hadn't just declared war. Ethan paced behind me, wolf instincts at the edge of his voice. They took Brittany. Or she ran. Either way, they want you. I didn't turn around. Then they think I'm still the weak one. He stopped pacing. You're not. I finally looked at him. You believe me? He nodded once, slowly. I trust my instincts. And they trust you. That was more than I ever got from Liam, or my own parents, or even Brittany herself. I crossed the room to the drawer, pulled out the ironwood dagger tucked in a velvet sleeve. Ethan raised a brow. Where did you get that? In my last life, I said quietly, you gave it to me. Right before the final battle. Right before everything burned. He blinked. Scarlet. You remember that far? I remember enough. He stepped closer. Then tell me how it ended. I met his gaze. You died. Protecting me. And Liam. Liam let it happen. The room fell into silence, broken only by the distant howls of our guards rallying. Ethan nodded again, slowly, like he was piecing the puzzle together. Then we don't let history repeat. An emergency council was called. Elders, warriors, sentinels. Ethan stood at the front of the long oak table, flanked by me on one side and his beta, Rowan, on the other. The rogues want Scarlet, Ethan announced. We will not give her to them. One elder coughed. With respect, Alpha, this threat is unlike anything we've seen. They bypassed the outer wards, ambushed a sentry, and left a message in Blackwood territory. This is targeted. Rowan stepped forward. We've begun tracking. No scent trail yet. But they had help. Possibly from within. All eyes shifted to Liam's empty seat. Where is your brother? One voice asked. Ethan didn't flinch. Missing. That single word was enough to ripple distrust across the table. I spoke for the first time. They want me because they think I'm unprotected. They're wrong? Ethan nodded. We fortify the north and west ridges. No one leaves or enters without clearance. And I'll lead the hunt myself. Alpha, Rowan began. Ethan cut him off. No debates. This is my fight too. And just like that, war had returned to Blackwood soil. Later that night, I found Ethan outside, sharpening his blade in the moonlight. His wolf form shimmered beneath his skin, like he was on the verge of shifting at any moment. You're not sleeping, I said. He didn't look up. Neither are you. I sat beside him on the stone bench. Do you think Brittany is with them? He paused. Yes. That answer gutted me more than it should have. She was my sister, I said softly. I know. She hated me for taking Liam. But she never understood, he was never mine to begin with. He was poison wrapped in gold. She doesn't see that. She never will. I swallowed hard. She thinks this is a game. Ethan turned to me. It's not. No. It was war. A war my sister had chosen. And I was the prize. Or the bait. The next day, Ethan gathered his strike team. Rowan. 2 elite trackers. And me. I'm going with you, I said. No. I crossed my arms. You'll need me to sense the trap. I've been through this before, Ethan. I know how it ends. He studied me for a long moment. Then finally, he said, stay close. We moved before dawn. The woods felt wrong. Even the birds were silent. The Blackwood territory had always been wild, but this silence was man-made. Fear-made. We tracked through thorns and shadows until we found the clearing. The message was burned into the earth this time. One sister leaves. One sister bleeds. Next to it, a scrap of Brittany's veil. She's alive, I whispered. For now, Ethan said grimly. Rowan's nose twitched. Sense 3. Maybe 4. One is Liam. I didn't feel shock. Just confirmation. I knelt by the burnt message, touching the soil. It was fresh. They were close. Watching. We need to draw them out, I said. Ethan nodded. That's what they want. To isolate you. Separate us. I stood. Then let's flip the trap. We didn't go home that night. We made camp near the Ash Ravine, where the rogue packs used to hide during the border wars. Ethan and I took the first watch. The fire crackled between us. I keep thinking about that day, he murmured. I looked up. The day you married Liam. You wore a silver chain around your waist. I always wondered what it meant. It was my mother's, I said. She told me it would protect me from falling in love with the wrong man. Ethan exhaled. Did it work? No, I smiled. But it led me to the right one eventually. He stared at the fire for a long time. Then, quietly, he said, Scarlet. If I don't come back. Don't, I cut in. You will. But if I don't. I took his hand. Then I'll come for you. And for the first time, he kissed me. No hesitation. No fear? Just a quiet, claiming kiss beneath the cold stars. We were ambushed at dawn. The rogues didn't attack like wild animals. They were strategic. Coordinated. Someone had trained them. We fought hard. Rowan took down 2 before being dragged into the trees. Ethan was in full wolf form, ripping through enemies like smoke and thunder. And then I saw him. Liam. At the edge of the battle. Watching. Coward. I chased him into the trees. I didn't even think. I just ran. He turned when he knew I was behind him. You really think Ethan can protect you forever? He hissed. No, I said. But I can protect myself now. I lunged, blade drawn. He blocked, but not fast enough. I sliced across his shoulder, not deep, but enough to make him bleed. You used me, I snarled. You destroyed Brittany. You betrayed your own pack. He laughed. And yet, you still want me dead. I stepped forward. No, Liam. I want you to live. I want you to see everything you lost. That's a better punishment than death. He growled, and for a moment I thought he'd shift. But then he turned and vanished into the woods. Coward again. When I returned to the battlefield, Ethan was searching for me. He ran toward me, eyes wide, blood along his cheek. You're bleeding, he said. Not my blood, I whispered, collapsing into his arms. He held me close, breathing hard. You're insane. And you love it, I murmured against his shoulder. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. That night, we stood before the remaining warriors of the pack. Ethan declared Liam in exile. A traitor. And Brittany. Well, we still hadn't found her. But she had made her choice. The pack chose Ethan. And Ethan chose me. No more shadows. No more second chances. Only truth. Only wolves. And the war was far from over. But this time, I wasn't just surviving it. I was rewriting it. The council hall was filled with silence, heavy as stone, thicker than the scent of wolf musk that clung to the walls. Ethan stood at the center, shoulders squared, voice firm as he announced the verdict. Liam Blackwood, firstborn son, former second-in-command, once heir, was officially stripped of rank, title, and name. He is no longer of this pack, Ethan said. He is rogue. No one clapped. No one celebrated. Exiling a blood brother was the kind of choice that cracked an alpha's soul down the middle. But the council bowed their heads and accepted the decree. Because Ethan wasn't just leading with force now. He was leading with truth. And the truth was ugly. Later that night, I found him on the ridge, staring out at the forest where Liam had vanished. I should have seen it sooner, he said. The way he smiled after patrols. The fake concern. He's been building alliances in the shadows for months. I nodded. He was always planning something. Even in my last life, I didn't know until it was too late. You trusted him. We both did. Ethan turned toward me, eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. And Brittany? She's still with him. I know it. Do you think he's using her? I hesitated. Yes. And she's letting him. She'll regret it. She already does. In the days that followed, Ethan doubled the border patrols. The western ridge was sealed. No wolves crossed without his approval. And I, the girl who had once lived in Liam's golden shadow, began to move through the pack like I belonged. Because this time, I did. I trained with the younger she-wolves in the mornings. Showed them how to track by scent and sound, not just sight. I joined Ethan in the strategy chambers at night, helping organize maps and movement schedules. And slowly, the pack began to see me as more than a consort. More than a wife. They began to see me as Luna. Then came the warning. A wolf, barely breathing, staggered through the northern gate. Claw marks on his side, throat nearly shredded. They're gathering, he choked. West Ridge. Rogues. Dozens. Maybe more. They're planning to hit the village. Midnight. Tonight. We didn't wait. Ethan shifted on the spot, black fur exploding from his body like shadowed flame. His howl shook the trees. The call to war. I stood beside him, sword in hand. I want to go with you, I said. He growled low, torn. You're not a warrior. I'm your Luna. And I remember how this ends. He shifted back, just long enough to look me in the eyes. This time, it ends on our terms. We reached the western ridge just after nightfall. There were fires. Not ours. The rogues had built crude torches and makeshift barricades of bone and wood. They howled and circled, waiting. Somewhere among them, I knew Liam and Brittany were watching. Planning. Ethan stood at the front, Rowan and I behind him. This is your last chance, Ethan shouted. Leave now, and we won't hunt you. Laughter echoed in the dark. Liam stepped from the shadows, bare-chested, silver chains hanging from his wrists like trophies. Still trying to negotiate, little brother? Still hiding behind others, Liam? Ethan snapped back. Then Brittany stepped forward too. Her once golden hair was tangled and dirty. Her eyes, wild. Scarlet, she called. Come down. He'll get you killed. Just like before. I stepped forward. You think I died last time, Brittany? I didn't. I lived. I lived with a memory of your betrayal. With the pain of what you let happen. Her lip trembled. I loved him. No, I said. You competed for him. You used love like a weapon. And now it's turned on you. Liam raised his arm. Enough talk. The rogue surged forward. The battle was chaos. Fangs and steel. Fur and fire. Blood on pine needles. Screams swallowed by wind. I fought beside Rowan, blades slicing through the dark. One rogue came for me, a tall one with jagged scars across his muzzle. I ducked, slashed upward, and rolled as he fell. Another came from behind, but Rowan took him down before he reached me. Through the smoke, I saw Ethan in wolf form, ripping through enemies, unstoppable. Until he stopped cold. Liam stood across from him. Shifted. Golden fur, sleek and massive. Bigger than I remembered. Their eyes locked. Then they clashed. I ran, dodging bodies, blades, and claws until I reached them. Liam had the upper hand. He slammed Ethan against a boulder, teeth bared. Ethan slashed back, but not fast enough. Blood dripped from his side. Always the second son, Liam growled. Always chasing me? Ethan shifted back, panting. I wasn't chasing you. I was protecting them from you. I raised my sword. Step away from him. Liam turned, smirking. Scarlet. You really think you can kill me? I don't have to. I dropped the blade and pulled out the vial I'd hidden in my belt. Wolfsbane. Concentrated. Brewed in secret with a healer. You poisoned me once, I said. Remember? I nearly died. Liam narrowed his eyes. This time, I learned. And I shattered the vial at his feet. The vapor hit fast. Liam staggered back, coughing, choking, collapsing to his knees. Ethan didn't hesitate. One final blow, claws to the chest, and Liam fell. Still breathing. But broken. Brittany screamed from the ridge. I turned just as she ran toward us, dagger in hand. She lunged for Ethan. I intercepted. The blade cut into my side, but I drove my knee into her gut, and she collapsed in the mud. We stared at each other, panting. You were my sister, I whispered. You took everything from me. No, I said. I earned what you threw away. She sobbed. But I didn't offer comfort. Some things can't be undone. The rogues scattered. Without Liam, without leadership, they dissolved like mist. The Blackwood warriors rounded up the wounded but captured. Ethan stood beside me, shirt torn, face bloodied. He looked at me, and for the first time in days, he smiled. You saved me. We saved each other. He touched the wound at my side. You're bleeding. I'm fine. You're not. I will be. He leaned in, forehead resting against mine. I'll never let you fight alone again. You won't have to. Brittany was taken to the healer, chained and silent. Liam remained unconscious for hours. When he finally woke, Ethan stood beside his bed. You're not going to kill me? Liam rasped. No, Ethan said. You'll live. You'll remember. Liam turned away. Ethan added, and you'll never step foot in our territory again. That night, Ethan burned Liam's name from the family records. Not out of hatred. But out of protection. For the pack. For the future. For me. I stood on the ridge the next morning, looking at the forest that once tried to swallow me whole. And I whispered, I'm not afraid of you anymore. The wind carried my words across the trees. I was no longer the girl in the shadow. I was the Luna of the Blackwood pack. And my story was no longer about survival. It was about power. And peace. The battle had ended, But silence was not peace. For 3 days after Liam's exile and Brittany's arrest, the Blackwood estate remained tense. Wolves patrolled in pairs. The elders spoke in hushed tones. And Ethan barely slept. He didn't shift. He didn't train. He didn't even scold the border scouts when they failed to report on time. Instead, he watched me. And I watched him. He was waiting for the guilt to break him. But I wouldn't let that happen. You did what you had to do, I told him one evening, sitting beside him near the hearth. I still see him, Ethan murmured. Every time I close my eyes. My brother. Chained like a rabid animal. Because of what he chose. I leaned my head against his shoulder. You didn't fail him. He failed himself. He didn't answer. Just exhaled. I've lived this life before, Ethan. And in that life, I stayed quiet. I ignored the signs. I let Brittany destroy everything from the inside out while Liam poisoned the pack from the outside in. I won't make that mistake again. And neither will you. He looked at me. You've changed me. I smiled. Good. And I meant it. Because the man beside me now was not just Ethan Blackwood, the cold second son with wolf's blood in his veins. He was a leader. A mate. A man capable of sacrifice. And healing. Brittany remained under guard, locked in the eastern wing of the estate. She refused visitors. Refused food at first. Then finally agreed to speak, but only to me. I hesitated. Not out of fear. But because I wasn't sure what was left to say. Still, I went. She looked thin, sitting cross-legged on the cot, her hair unwashed, face pale. You're not here to gloat? She asked. No, I said. Then why come? To ask one question. Her eyes were dull. What question? Was there ever a moment, just one, when you didn't hate me? She blinked, caught off guard. Her voice faltered. I never hated you. I said nothing. She looked down. I hated that they loved you more. That Ethan saw you. That Liam smiled when you entered the room, even after you married his brother. They didn't love me more, I said. I just didn't pretend to be someone I wasn't. You were always so calm. So patient. So good. I wasn't good, Brittany. I was just tired of fighting a war with you over people who didn't care about either of us. She laughed bitterly. And yet, you still won. No, I said. I survived. She didn't reply. I left without looking back. That night, Ethan called a full assembly in the heart of the Blackwood forest. Every wolf. Every elder. Every warrior. He stood at the center of the stone circle, and I stood beside him, wrapped in a Luna's cloak, black velvet lined with ash-gray fur. The traditional mark of a mate acknowledged not just by marriage, but by merit. Ethan raised his hand, and the pack went still. Tonight, he said, we close the old wounds. He turned to face me. This woman saved our future. Not with fangs. Not with claws. But with memory. With truth. And with a courage I've never seen before. He knelt before me and bowed his head. The entire pack followed. For a long moment, the forest held its breath. I stepped forward, lifted his chin. You do not bow to me, I said clearly. You stand with me. From this night forward, I'm not just your Luna. I am your shield. Your voice. Your reminder that history does not own us. We write it ourselves. The wolves howled, one by one, then in unison. It was not a song of war. It was a song of rebirth. The next morning, Ethan and I stood at the northern cliff that overlooked the valley. From here, you could see the borders of Blackwood land, the same ones that Liam once tried to break. It feels different now, Ethan said. Lighter. It is, I said. Because it's ours this time. He took my hand. There's something I haven't told you. I turned to him. In the council scrolls, he said, there's a prophecy. It speaks of a Luna who returns through fire and betrayal. One who remembers what others forget. One who becomes more than wife. She becomes the reason the pack survives the coming storm. I frowned. Coming storm? He nodded. The scrolls are vague. But they mention a choice. A test. I've already faced betrayal, death, war. What else could they test? Ethan looked serious. Your mercy. That evening, The guard who had been watching Brittany arrived in the great hall, pale and breathless. "She's gone," he said. I stood, stunned. What? She escaped. The chains were cut. No scent trail. Nothing. Ethan growled. She had help. I closed my eyes. I could still feel her voice in my ears. "You still won?" Had I? Or had I missed something? That night, I dreamed of fire. Brittany standing in the center of the old temple ruins, her hand outstretched toward someone cloaked in shadows. And a voice echoing through the dream. "The past is only the first betrayal. The true test is yet to come." I woke gasping, sweat on my skin, Ethan already awake beside me. "You felt it too," he said. I nodded. Somewhere, Brittany was planning her next move. And this time, she wasn't coming for revenge. She was coming for power. I spent the next days preparing. Not for another war, but for a shift. A reckoning. I walked the borders. Spoke to the elders. Trained the she-wolves. Strengthened alliances. Created backup plans. Because I wasn't just Ethan's Luna anymore. I was a symbol now. And symbols don't break. They rise. One evening, Ethan joined me by the old stone well at the edge of the territory. "There's talk among the packs," he said. "They call you the Red Luna. Because of the robe?" "No. Because of the fire. The blood. The way you walked into battle and didn't flinch." I smiled. "It has a nice ring to it." He took both my hands. "There's one thing we haven't done." I raised a brow. "What's that?" "The bond ceremony. The real one. Under the full moon. Before the pack. Luna to Alpha." I blinked. "You want to?" "I need to," he said. "Because I never want anyone to question again what you are. Who you are." "And who's that?" I asked, breathless. He leaned closer. "The one who saved me. The one who brought me back. The one I would fight 1,000 lifetimes to protect." I laughed softly. "You don't need to protect me, Ethan. You just have to stand beside me." He nodded. "Always." And with the moon rising behind us, he knelt again, not in duty, but in devotion. And this time, I knelt with him. Because strength was not in dominance. It was in choosing to kneel for the one who would always rise with you. The storm was coming. We both knew it. But this time, we would face it side by side. As Alpha. And Luna. Bound not by fate. But by choice. The moon was high, nearly full, bathing the Blackwood lands in silver. The air felt charged, heavy with something that couldn't be named. Wolves feel it before war. Mothers feel it before birth. And I, once a forgotten daughter, once a second-choice bride, felt it now, just before the final chapter of my rebirth began. Brittany had vanished without a trace. The healer said she was not injured when she fled. The Eastern Guard swore the chains were intact the night before. Only one thing was certain, she had help. And the night of the full moon was only hours away. The ceremony had been planned for weeks. Not just a celebration, but a rite of final recognition. The moment I would officially become Luna in the eyes of the ancient council, binding me to Ethan not just as wife, but as equal. Ethan stood beside me, fingers laced in mine as we looked out over the circle of packed stones where the ritual would begin. "You're quiet," he murmured. "I'm listening," I said. "To what?" "To the land. It knows something we don't." He looked at me with pride, and maybe just a flicker of concern. "We'll be ready for her," he said, though he never spoke her name. We didn't have to. By dusk, the pack had gathered. Wolves in human form and shifted alike. Elders stood in robes woven with silver thread, holding ancient tomes and iron daggers. The sacred circle was marked with red chalk and pine ash. Ethan wore ceremonial black, his cloak bearing the family crest, a wolf rising from fire. I wore white. Not for purity, but for transformation. Because this wasn't about who I had been. It was about who I had become. As the first chant began, I stepped into the center of the circle and knelt. Ethan joined me. Elder Kale raised his staff. "Who comes forward to claim the title of Luna?" Ethan's voice rang clear. "Scarlet of the Hawthorn line. Mate of the Alpha. Chosen not by blood, but by bond." And who witnesses this union? The pack raised their voices as one. We do. The ritual continued. A cut was made on my palm. Another on Ethan's. When our blood touched in the ceremonial bowl, the ground beneath us pulsed with heat, ancient magic acknowledging the bond. And then, the wind changed. A howl cut through the night, not one of celebration, but of warning. Then a scream. A guard stumbled into the clearing, blood soaking his arm. Westgate breached. She's here. Ethan growled, already shifting. I stood, blade in hand, before anyone could stop me. This was always how it would end. We met her in the clearing behind the ceremonial circle. Brittany stood barefoot, wearing a ragged dress, her face gaunt, eyes glowing unnaturally gold. Not wolf gold. Something darker. She's marked, Ethan muttered. By something not of our kind. Behind her, a figure emerged. Tall. Robed in black. Not a wolf. A warlock. Old magic. Forbidden magic. I gave her what you never could, he said. Power. Purpose. She gave you our territory, Ethan snapped. No, Brittany said. I gave him you. The warlock lifted his hand, and the wind roared to life. Wolves were thrown backward like leaves. Elder Kale collapsed. Rowan shifted and lunged, but Brittany slashed him across the chest with a claw-tipped hand. She had taken something. Drunk something. Became something else. You were always in my way, she said, eyes on me. No, I said, stepping forward. I was your way. You just never walked it. She screamed and charged. We clashed. Not like sisters. Like storms. She fought dirty. Fast. Unpredictable. I parried each attack with a blade Ethan had given me, silver-edged, iron core, blessed by the elders. You always got everything. She shrieked. Even now, they kneel for you. I never asked for any of it, I shouted. I just survived what you couldn't. We rolled through the grass, blades and claws and blood. Finally, I kicked her back. She landed hard. I stood over her, panting, weapon raised. The warlock raised his hand to strike me down. But Ethan struck first. In wolf form, he launched from the trees, fangs sinking into the warlock's neck. They fell together in a blur of shadows and fire. The warlock screamed and vanished into ash. The spell broke. Brittany gasped, her body convulsing. The golden glow faded from her eyes. She looked up at me. I didn't mean to, she began. But there were no more words. Only silence. I lowered my blade. She was broken. Not by me. By herself. Ethan shifted back, blood on his arms, his chest heaving. Is she? Alive, I said. But no longer a threat. He reached for me. And you? I took his hand. Still here. The pack returned to the circle by dawn. The ritual resumed. This time, there were no interruptions. No chaos. No storms. Only peace. As Elder Kale placed a luna mark on my brow, a ripple of energy passed through the earth. Acceptance. Completion. Ethan turned to me. From this day on, he said, we lead together. And I answered, loud and clear. No longer behind. No longer beside. With. Always. Weeks passed. Brittany was taken into the healer's care. The darkness that had used her was purged, but she would never again be the same. I visited her once. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Some wounds don't close. But they stopped bleeding. Ethan rebuilt the pack from the ashes. Young wolves were trained. The council was expanded. Alliances restored. And I? I became more than Luna. I became legend. The Red Luna. The one who returned from death. The one who changed fate. The one who taught a cold alpha how to love. On the first full moon of spring, Ethan and I stood on the cliff again, hand in hand. You still listening to the land? He asked. I smiled. It's quiet now. And you? What do you hear? I turned to him, my mate, my equal, my once reluctant husband. I hear forever. And beneath the moonlight, the wolves howled. Not in fear. Not in mourning. but in joy. Because the storm had passed. And we were still standing. Together.